Hello, and welcome to the Enneagram in a Movie podcast, part of the Awareness to Action podcast network. This is the podcast that looks at one film in each episode and uses it to explain the 9 types and 3 instinctual biases of the Enneagram model of personality. One movie, one type. My name is Mario Sakura, and I'll be joined by Maria Jose Munita and Tamer Zanatti. We are the principals of Awareness to Action International, a global consulting and training company that specializes in practical applications of the Enneagram. You can find out more about us and our work at awareness-to-action.com. In the meantime, make some popcorn, sit back, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the Enneagram in a Movie podcast. I'm Mario Sakura, and I'm here with Maria Jose Munita.
Hi, Mario. Hi, Tamer.
And with Tamer Zanatti.
Hello, Maria Jose. Hello, Mario. Hello, everyone.
All right, so we are going to be talking about the movie Lost in Translation today, starring Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson from 2003, and Ennea-Type Four. This is a really, really, really four-ish movie. Okay. Oddly enough, as I was watching this, all I could think about was how four it was, but also how navigating it was. And we considered this as a movie to talk about for the navigating domain, but ended up going with The Breakfast Club. So I am curious, as we start, I want to know Tamer's impression of this movie.
Me too.
Why especially me?
Well, we'll see. I'm just curious. Being our group transmitter, I'm curious.
Yeah, actually, I like the movie, and because we use it in our programs, I watched it many times, and I enjoyed watching it again. Yeah, I think it's different. It's not like the kind of the commercial movie that you see every day. It's different. It's not that fast pace. I understand what you're but at the same thing, I get concentrating on the depth that it has. This subtle messages in everything, and I like the performance of both of them, Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson. And the directing is amazing. The picture is artistic, so artistic. It reflects for a director. So no, I like it. It's not a boring movie for me.
Good. All right. So Maria Jose, quick reaction to the movie, and then I'll tell the audience what this movie's about before we go and talk about Type 4.
Yeah, I was wondering about your reaction, Tamer, as well. I really, really enjoyed it. It's, again, we use it a lot, but I had not watched again the whole movie in a long time, and I didn't want it to end. I think it's the fourish kind of theme, but also the navigating aspect of it. It's like I was all the time guessing what they were feeling and trying to come up with a story of what was going on, what they were thinking, what they were feeling, and I enjoyed that. That's almost what I do for a living. It was fascinating.
Yeah, so I'll just chip in here and say I just love this movie. This is one of my favorite movies, and it's a movie that I have met some people who saw it and didn't like it. I don't enjoy spending time with those people, but it reminds me of a very European movie, right? It reminds me very much of a French film or a Swedish film from the 60s or 70s. It's you can't really describe the plot, and there's not a huge amount of action that occurs, but it's a very moving and absorbing movie as far as I'm concerned. So, Lost in Translation, what is it about? Okay, so Bill Murray plays Bob Harris, who is a middle-aged actor who's kind of on the tail end of his career, but still a very famous guy, who is in Tokyo to film a commercial for a Japanese whiskey, for which he is being paid $2 million. We know this because he mentions it a couple of times, because he has this sort of shame that he is there making all this money to do a commercial when he could be doing a play somewhere, as he puts it, right? So
it's like it's below his worth.
Exactly.
It's just he shouldn't be doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no
and
there's no dignity.
I sensed in his comment on that, it's like the lack of meaning in
Yes.
in this commercials. It's like, I mean, it doesn't have the depth that I deserve.
Yes, yes. Now, I have to say, if somebody was going to hand me $2 million to do a commercial about whiskey, I can't imagine being depressed by that in any way whatsoever, right? But again, that kind of helps to define the character. So while he's there, he's feeling very disoriented. There's clearly some trouble at home with his wife. He runs into or encounters a young woman named Charlotte, played by Scarlett Johansson. They develop this relationship through the course of the movie that's kind of hard to define, right? I mean, she is playing a 25-year-old woman. I think she was only 17 or 18 at the time, which was kind of shocking when I found that out. And he is someone who's clearly in his, I'd say, mid to late 50s during this part of the movie. So they develop this relationship. They are both dealing with jet lag, with a sense of disorientation, of being in a very foreign place. She is there with her husband, who is a photographer. So Charlotte and Bob end up kind of forming this relationship that has its ups and downs, and then they leave and go their own separate ways, and that's the end of the movie. Okay. Now, again, doesn't seem like much of a plot, but there's a whole lot going on here. Anything you guys would add about the plot?
I think it's a lot about Japan and the culture there and how they react to it. It's hard to blend in. Just everything is so different.
Yes.
And that has a big role, I think, in the whole movie.
Yes. Now, Maria-Jose, I know you have not been to Japan. How about you, Tamer? Have you been to Japan?
No, never been to Japan.
Okay. I spent 36 hours there once. Okay, so I'm not well versed on Japan by any means.
The whole world knows about it.
Well, they do now. Right? So I've been to the bar where a lot of this movie takes place. A lot of it takes place at the Park Hyatt Hotel in Tokyo, and I did not stay at the hotel, but I did spend time at the bar, and only because I had seen this movie and loved the movie so much that I go to the bar. Japan is for a Westerner, a very, very different place. It's very disorienting. When you're there, you think, or I felt that I could be there for 100 years and I would never understand this place, right? Because it's just so different from anywhere else I'd ever been before. So, which again adds that feeling of disorientation, which is so at the heart of the Type 4. Before we talk more about the movie, why don't we talk about the Enneagram Type 4? So, Maria-Jose, tell us about the traditional Enneagram and Type 4.
So, fours are well known for their passion, and which is envy. Envy, the definition is an emotion which occurs when a person lacks another's superior quality, achievement, or possession, and either desires it or wishes that the other lacked it. With a four, they're constantly comparing themselves to the other person and to other people. To other people in general, and in an effort or a desire to feel unique, to feel different. So they compare themselves and they see how other people have these attributes that they don't possess, and they feel envy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And tell us about the fixation.
Yeah, so the fixation, and it's these kind of thinking patterns, melancholy, and it's a feeling of pensive sadness, typically with no obvious cause. And you can see that in fours. There's just these subtle, and not so subtle sometimes, sadness that seems like they enjoy. It's not like they were sad and trying not to feel sad. It's kind of part of themselves. I think it's almost like part of their identity sometimes. They just are like that, like deep. You can see that melancholy.
Yeah. I was surprised when we get to the reviews of this movie how many of them use the word melancholy.
Yeah.
Right. Because this movie just does exude this melancholy, and I love the phrase, the term pensive sadness here, right? So it's kind of a meditative thinking about sadness, right?
Yeah.
That kind of comes through. And the virtue is equanimity. Tell us about equanimity, Maria Jose.
So equanimity is a state of psychological stability and composure, which is undisturbed by experience or of exposure to emotions, pain, or other phenomena that may cause others to lose the balance of their mind. So that's the description or definition, really. And so fours have this ability to just embrace everything and everyone, and with their emotions, whatever those are, with what they're doing. And that's a really, really good quality that fours
Yeah.
can have or can display.
Yeah, and I think we see equanimity a lot in this movie as well, particularly in the Bill Murray character of at least struggling to find. There's moments of equanimity and moments of real misery and sadness and suffering, but also these moments of kind of balance and poise and perspective that I think the four gains as they mature.
Yeah.
So all of that on display.
Yeah, I saw that as a sign of maturity. So
Yes.
after having been through so much probably in life, he was trying. It didn't come that natural. He was kind of struggling with himself and his reactions, but then trying to display this equanimity.
Yeah, and I think this says so much about how the path on growing within our Enneagram style, or managing our Enneagram style, is not moving from one state to another permanently, right? I mean, we kind of we're visiting along the way, and so you can see him going in and out of that state of equanimity. So when we talk about the Enneagram types, we talk about preferred strategies, right? And we call the four striving to feel unique, and we talk about how the strategy starts from a place of wanting to feel a certain way, which shapes the way we think, which shapes the actions that we take as we go through life. Tamer, tell us about the preferred strategy of striving to feel unique for fours.
Yeah, it's this is the need to feel unique that affect the way the owner of such a preferred strategy thinking how to express my uniqueness, how to express to the world, how to express to myself even how unique I am, which affect the actions. And this where you can see this comparison, how different I am from others, or how do I don't belong to this group and maybe belong to this group. This comparison most of the time, how can I make things different, situation difference, products difference, the way I'm speaking, impacting others, just my own unique way. And when this is expressed in an adaptive way, it can be very creative, okay, very giving a fresh perspective of things, okay, finding the beauty in different things, even the beauty in the middle of the things that we don't really notice, and the quality of other people's. But when it's overdone, it can be a kind of rebellious with no need, or it can be of manufacturing uniqueness, manufacturing difference, changing things for the sake of changing them without really the need of that, and maybe losing the perspective that uniqueness is like an innate thing rather than something to be manufactured.
Yeah. So, and again, we see a lot of this, particularly in Charlotte, right? So the quest for the four is the big question of who am I? Who am I really? And how do I express that person that I am? So that we also like to talk about the connecting points. And so we talk about the connection between point 4 and point 1, striving to feel perfect, and how that is what we call a neglected strategy. And it doesn't mean that fours don't have a perfectionistic streak, because they often do. But it also means that they don't want to follow the rules. They don't want to fit in. They don't want to have the same expectations set on them that they might put on other people. And the other connecting point is striving to feel connected, which is what we call the support strategy. And again, there's a whole lot of this going on, right? So, Tamer, tell us about striving to feel connected and point 4.
So it's their support strategy. Sometimes it helped them into connecting to others, understanding, feeling their emotions, and so on. And sometimes it get into feeling, this demandingness. I mean, demanding the others to really respond back to their needs, or their expressing that they are connected to and feeling their uniqueness and so on. Sometimes it's overdone.
So this idea of finding my identity through somebody else is really important for Four, right? So they're torn between who am I independent of others, but also what do my connections to other people say about me and who I am? Okay, so very often there's this sort of comparing of themselves to other people, and then a desire, this longing for people that they think are special in some way. Okay, and again, a theme that comes out through the movie over and over again. Okay, so fours are again, often thought of as these. The stereotype of the four is that they're kind of odd. They don't quite fit in. They dress different, all this sort of thing. And certainly sometimes we see that. But, the vast majority of fours are very normal people for the most part, right? You wouldn't be able to pick them out of a crowd just because they're fours necessarily. But certainly these two characters are very normal, likable, and, admirable people. They just have this thing about melancholy and this thing about their identity that they're struggling to find. Okay, so, sorry, anything else we should say about fours before we move on?
I think that the point you just made, I really want to reinforce it, because sometimes they have a lot of bad press. And like if they were not capable of holding leadership positions or stay at a normal job, or that's not my experience. Although they want to kind of feel different or unique, they can be in pretty much any job, any position, and succeed at it.
Agreed. I remember one time talking with somebody on some Enneagram forum about a CEO that I was suggesting might be a four, and somebody said, well, no, a four can't be a CEO, right? Of course they can. That's just ridiculous, right? I've met fours who are attorneys, who are accountants, who are, real estate salespeople, and, do every other job just like every other Enneagram type. They're not all, like I like to say, beret-wearing, clove cigarettes smoking, beat poets or something.
Awareness to Action offers a unique approach to applying the Enneagram professionally with leaders and organizations, as well as for personal development. What makes us stand apart is our Enneagram expertise and focus on understanding human nature.
We know people because we see people. And this is a skill set that can be taught and learned. Human nature is complex and simple at the same time. Our mission is to help people see clearly and act accordingly. Why? Because the ability to see ourselves and others clearly and honestly is essential. It enables us to act in more adaptive and useful ways.
The multicultural team in Awareness to Action will help you learn tools and practices to become more aware and also to understand and engage people more effectively. Learn more at awareness-to-action.com. Join us at 2021 for exciting learning opportunities.
All right, so the movie, filled with fours. Okay, I don't know about Scarlett Johansson. I don't know enough about her to know anything about what her Enneagram type is, but I do believe that Bill Murray in real life is a navigating four, like the character he plays in the movie. There's some interesting things to talk about regarding Bill Murray in a moment. Sofia Coppola also strikes me as very much a four. She is the daughter of Francis Ford Coppola, our friend from The Godfather. When she wrote this movie, it was based on her own experiences of being in Japan. She was doing a press conference or press promotion for her earlier movie, The Virgin Suicides, which is another very good movie. And, this feeling of disorientation and her love of Japan inspired her to do this movie. She had Bill Murray in mind when she wrote it, only found Scarlett Johansson a bit later. Go ahead, Mariose.
No, I I have no idea what's Scarlett Johansson's personality type, but I saw one press conference where he's kind of the other guy who was starring at that movie got asked something, and she got asked if she was wearing underwear with, I think it was the Avengers or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And she said, "Why do all of them get the interesting questions? You know? And I get the question about my underwear, you know." Now, I would have been irritated by that as well, but it just, this fourish angle reminded me of that
Struck
press
you.
conference.
Yeah, the expression is very fourish. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly could be. So a couple of things about the movies, other things. So Scarlett Johansson's character Charlotte, her husband in the movie, played by named John, played by Giovanni Ribisi, is actually modeled on Sofia Coppola's ex-husband, video and movie director Spike Jonze. And the character, what the heck was her name? Kelly, I think, the actress,
Kelly,
the
yes.
blonde actress, played by Anna Faris, is modeled on Cameron Diaz. It's pretty clear that Sofia Coppola is not a big Cameron Diaz fan, you know, so we'll come back to that.
Pretty clear that she's still not married. I mean, not still married, because it's...
Right. Yes, that marriage did not last, and we can certainly understand why when watching the movie. Right. Some interesting tidbits about Bill Murray with the movie. Bill Murray does not have a Hollywood agent. Right, so he has an 800 number, right, a toll-free number that people have to call and leave messages on, if they even know his number. Right, he doesn't share it with everybody, and he lives very far from Hollywood. He lives in, I think, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, which is a beautiful city, but again, just kind of a unusual place for a Hollywood actor of his stature to live. And he is known for just kind of showing up at events, right? Kind of crashing weddings and just hanging out, or, you know, going to bars and just liking to hang out with people and talk and entertain them. Again, a quirky sort of guy. And he agreed to do this movie after she chased him down for a year, leaving him messages, finding every friend that she knew him to ask him to do it. And he did not sign a contract. And they had started filming the movie and had already spent a quarter of the budget before he even showed up by surprise in Japan to start filming the movie, right? So a little bit of a quirky guy. And again, it seems odd to say that somebody who's known as a comedic actor would be a 4, because of course we'd expect, it must be a 7, he's a comedian, all this sort of stuff. But again, it goes against the stereotype. And I think anybody who has tracked Bill Murray over the course of his life can see the 4-ness in him. I don't know. What do you guys, do you have enough familiarity with him outside of the film roles to comment on that?
Yeah, I guess even in Ghostbuster, you can see his, I mean, if you look at his eyes, it's still, I mean, he's producing comedy, but still this, sadness, melancholy, deep look is on his eyes most of the time. So it's like, it's obvious.
Yeah, so a quick tidbit, movie history tidbit regarding Ghostbusters. So Ghostbusters was a huge, huge hit, and the movie studio wanted him to do Ghostbusters 2, which he did not want to do, and he had this dream of making a movie out of the book The Razor's Edge in the early 1980s, and it was a book that nobody wanted to turn into a movie. It had been turned into a movie in the 1940s with Tyrone Power, but he said to the production company, if you fund me to make The Razor's Edge, then I will do Ghostbusters 2. And The Razor's Edge is about a guy after World War II who's on a search to find himself. Traveling the world and seeking wisdom as he finds himself. So again, kind of a 4-ish move in my book, right? The movie, by the way, if you can find it, The Razor's Edge, it's an interesting curiosity. The book is much, much better. I'm a big fan of the book. The movie only cost $4 million to make, and it ended up returning a worldwide gross of $117 million, I believe. So it was a small movie, but it was a very profitable movie. The people who made it were happy in that regard. Culturally, it made Scarlett Johansson, right? I mean, it really put her on the map, and she went on to do many things, including being Black Widow in the Marvels movies, which I think is her biggest claim to fame, unfortunately. And it showed people that Bill Murray could act. What did you guys think of Bill Murray's performance in this movie?
I like it. I like it very much. I mean, he's saying a lot with his facial expressions that are very subtle, with his body language, more than what he says with his. With his words.
Maria Jose?
He was really likable. I agree with Tamer. And also I think that he managed to perform in a way that showed kind of a sweet angle, but also intensely romantic. So it was, and I don't think it's an easy job.
Yes. It was a very textured and nuanced performance. I think it was the best of his career. He was also great in Rushmore, a very, very different character, but I think that's his other top thing. And of course, he had a cameo role in Zombieland, to tie us back to our last episode when we talked to Tom Condon about zombie movies, Zombieland with Woody Harrelson and the guy that played Mark Zuckerberg in the Social Network, are guys running from zombies, and they end up at Bill Murray's house. And but Bill Murray is not yet a zombie, and they end up hanging out with him. But then Bill Murray, playing himself in the movie, decides to dress up like a zombie and scare the other people. And of course, they blow his head off. And there's the famous line from the movie is, "Man, you killed Bill Murray." So anyway, just a little tie back to our previous episode through our love of zombies.
All right. You love zombies, Mari.
Yeah, you missed our conversation with Tom about that last time.
I did.
But yes,
I think we should do like an extra episode of these podcasts with this
the Enneagram in a movie zombie edition. Right?
Zombiegram. We have the Zombiegram episodes.
All right. Okay, great. Let's see. One final comment about the movie. It never really had a traditional script. When she wrote what served as the script, it was really just a series of sketches, and a lot of the movie was ad-libbed, particularly the Bill Murray parts, which you can certainly see in places where the people around him are doing anything they can to not laugh, right? Like at the hospital, there are the two women in the back laughing, and on the elevator, people are trying not to laugh, and the scene in the sushi restaurant with the black toe, he was clearly ad-libbing there. And also, a lot of the movie was shot kind of guerrilla style, meaning that they would just say, "Hey, this is a cool place. Let's shoot here." And, they didn't have permits or anything like that. They would just grab the cameras. So a lot of the scenes when they're running for taxis and that sort of thing, they were doing kind of on the fly and improvising. So
I think I heard that last scene when he talks to her and we just can't hear what he's saying. Was improvised as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, and it's and it just goes to show you how a good improvisation can really have an impact, because that, I think, is an incredibly powerful ending to the movie. So
only a four director would do that. I mean, all of these improvisations,
yes,
unscripted shooting.
Yes, yes, it was just kind of, let's see what happens here, and off we go. Okay, so we're going to continue talking about the key scenes in the movie. And I think what I'd like to do, there are a few scenes that we pulled out to discuss. And I think also, kind of like we did before, part of it is about relationships. So we did with Jerry Maguire. But I think the first, again, as we've experienced with some of the other movies, it's kind of hard to stop some of these scenes and say, okay, well, this scene captured four, and then it stops talking about four, because just so much of the movie it was illustrating fourness, right? But let's talk, the first 20 minutes or so. So go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, it's when I looked at the scenes that we were supposed to kind of discuss here, I was like, I don't want to stop there. I mean, there's so many other things that are interesting and fourish. So, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So they're coming. He's coming from the airport. That's the first scene. No, she's in the hotel room first.
Yes. So a very, I guess, kind of a bit of a controversial opening scene with Scarlett Johansson, a close up on her rear end, laying in bed, wearing pink underwear
Pink
and
transparent underwear.
pink transparent underwear, and and I think that was Sofia Coppola's idea to show the vulnerability, the emotional vulnerability of the character. It certainly established that. And then they cut to Bill Murray coming in from the airport. Now, just a couple of little nitpicks here, and Maria Jose, you're going to tear into me on this one, but he's actually going the wrong direction. On that street, right? So the direction he is heading on that street is leading away from the hotel rather than toward it. But
and you know it because you've been there, right?
I have walked down that street, so
so you needed to say it.
I needed to say it, but there's I just had to. I'm showing off a little bit, man.
Yeah.
So but yes,
You
so
need to
there's
leverage those 36 hours you spent in Japan the best you can.
Yeah. So, but again, you're getting this feeling of disorientation, so he's clearly sleepy. He's clearly not sure where he is. There's all this neon lighting and the driving on what we would say is the wrong side of the road. And so he gets to this hotel where he is kind of the Park Hyatt, where he is just surrounded by people. Go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, and on his way to the hotel, you can see in his face that not only that he's tired, but kind of how foreign everything is to him. It's not just the language that he cannot read anything, but he looks like he just doesn't get it. And you can see that throughout the movie, that he's looking at people and at places, and it's like, how do I make sense of this?
Yes. And there's an evolution in him and his understanding of the place, right? Because later we'll see there's this scene where he's calling home to his wife after they're out with Charlie Brown and friends, and he's talking about all these cool things that he did and all these places that he saw. So you can tell the place grows on him. A big part of it is because he wants to stay longer to spend more time with Charlotte. Again, I think there is a real kind of sense of, okay, I'm feeling okay now as it goes on. Let's see. So also some of the things that are set up in the beginning, he is making a commercial for Suntory Times whiskey, which is a big whiskey producer in Japan. Oddly enough, when I was there, they did not have Suntory whiskey on the menu at the bar where the movie is filmed. It was really quite disappointing and, odd, I felt, but what are you going to do? All right. So it also sets up that his relationship with his wife is a little, shall we say, strained, I guess, because if you remember, he's in the lobby and they hand him an envelope with a fax in it. Can you imagine it was only 18 years ago that people were still sending faxes to each other? But the fax says something along the lines of, well, you missed your son's birthday, but don't worry, I'm sure he'll be fine, right? Kind of thing, which is this little kind of stab in the heart from his wife. We'll see this theme of sort of a disconnect between him and his wife throughout the movie. We also see Charlotte's lack of identity be on display in the opening scenes. What did you guys see regarding that?
So there was this CD that she was listening to, and I don't know if it was in the first 20 minutes or not, but it was like a soul surge or something like that. And
Yes.
And she's kind of listening to it and looking at different things, that's later in the flowers, but you can see that she's a bit lost, not knowing what to do with herself.
Yes, doesn't know what to do. She goes exploring, right? Is walking through, the crowded intersections, is going through the Zen gardens, the Zen temple that she ends up at. And as you say, sort of listening to the self-help CD to kind of figure out who she is.
She calls her friend.
Yeah.
Yes, she calls her friend, and her problem, and she was crying, and she said, I went to this shrine and I didn't feel anything.
Yes.
And to her, that was shocking or terrible. It was the worst thing that could have happened to her, not feel anything.
And it was striking to me, too, that she was crying about not feeling anything, right? So it's like, well, clearly there's some emotion here, right? If you didn't feel anything then, you're certainly feeling something now. And what does her friend do? Do you remember?
She was like distracted with another conversation, and that made her maybe even more feeling pain that she's not being attended to, or she's not connecting emotionally with the other side.
Yes. Yeah. The friend basically puts her on hold, right? And, which is pretty much the last thing you want to do with a 4 when they're expressing their emotions. Okay. So clearly Charlotte is, and both Charlotte and Bob are set up as people who are out of place, right? And not just physically out of place, but psychologically, emotionally out of place as well. What's interesting, go ahead, Maria.
There's another scene, I think it's there, where he takes a shower and the shower is just too low. So everything is just out of place. He's everywhere out of place.
Yes. And there's also the jet lag issues that are going on and, that sort of thing. Okay. I think here's a good place I want to mention the concept of wabi-sabi. Okay, so wabi-sabi is an aesthetic from Japanese art that, again, permeates this movie, right? And when we talk about 4s, when we teach the 4 in our trainings, we often talk about this idea of wabi-sabi. In Japanese aesthetics, wabi-sabi is a worldview centered on the acceptance of the transient and imperfection in life. Okay, so a lot of the Japanese arts have this quality in it. The ikebana, the flower arranging that Maria Jose mentioned, is certainly focused on this. And there's an interesting comment I saw here that if an object or expression can bring about within us a sense of serene melancholy and a spiritual longing, then that object can be said to have wabi-sabi. Right? So again, we get this idea of melancholy, right, that just keeps coming back over and over again. Right. So if you really want to understand 4s, Google wabi-sabi, right? WABI-SABI, 2 different words, and it captures kind of the internal state that many 4s are experiencing.
Yeah, in that first part, there's also a conversation between Charlotte and John, her husband, and I think he said to her, "Let them be who they are." So let them express their uniqueness or whatever they are.
The band that he is photographing. Yeah. So again, that idea of authenticity that's so central to 4s. And what was interesting about that scene is that she was barely paying attention to what he was saying. Right. She's playing with a scarf that she has on and, and she's like kind of just agreeing with him. But, again, she's caught up in her own stuff and not really, all that interested in what he has to say, it seems. Are you interested in learning more about our approach to the Enneagram? Go to awareness-to-action.com and check out our certification program. We offer a clear, concise, business-friendly, and science-minded approach while maintaining the depth of traditional approaches to the system. At Awareness to Action International, we're the leading innovators in the theory and pragmatic applications of this system to all aspects of the work environment, including leadership and personal development, team building, diversity and culture, and managing change. However, this approach is not just for the business world. A lot of people who attend our trainings do so for their own self-development or spiritual growth. Our certification program is one of only a handful of curricula accredited as a school by the International Enneagram Association. It is currently being conducted virtually and combines live sessions with asynchronous learning. Again, find out more at awareness-to-action.com. The final thing, I guess, in this section of the movie is the lip my stocking scene that happens. Tamer, why don't you tell us about the lip my stocking?
This is the escort lady that has been sent, I guess, by the producer of the or the owner of the whiskey company.
Yeah, they don't quite say.
Yeah,
but
so
they
it's
say the guy's
someone
name,
related
but-
to the advertising he's shooting. So he's sending him like a kind of compliment, an escort lady, and she's talking in English and saying "lip my stocking" while she means "rip my stocking."
Yes.
And a bizarre thing happens that she started to do movement, and he got even bored by what she's doing, rather than being entertained, which is the objective of the whole thing. So
Yes, it was.
and it shows that element of Four that not really interesting in the ordinary. So the guy is sending him something very ordinary.
I don't know, Tamer, if that's ordinary for you, if that event is ordinary for you, I want to hang out with you some more. But,
no, I mean, the thing is that although it looks funny for us, I mean, it was expressed by the director here. It's like he's feeling bored even with that. So
yes, bored, disoriented. He's trying to get away from her.
Yeah.
She's writhing on the floor. She tackles him, and all the lamps get knocked out, and the scene sort of fades away. Maria Jose, anything you would add to that?
Yeah, and not to that scene actually, but I think there was this scene where the first scene when he was shooting the commercial, and the director speaks in Japanese, like for 2 minutes, and then the translator, the interpreter,
yes,
says like 3 words,
yes.
and the guys just cannot understand what's going on. And I guess that's, one of the reasons why it's called Lost in Translation. But he again seems so out of place, and it felt to me like he's selling his soul for these 2 million, like doing things that are just denigrating.
Yes.
And so the whole thing, trying to follow, kind of go with the flow with the director and all of that, feels painful.
So there's 2 of those scenes, right? One is the video that they're doing where he turns to the camera and says something. And then later there's one where it's still pictures that they're taking. And so it was interesting. I don't know if you quite caught this, but again, these were ad-libbed scenes. Okay. Sofia Coppola, the director, was standing, in the back giving directions to the guy playing the photographer to give to Bill Murray. And so at first he tells them, to be
Roger Moore.
Roger Moore. Yeah, Roger Moore. Yeah. And so, James Bond 007. Now, what's great about that is that Roger Moore is like the grossest of the James Bonds, right? I mean, for any James Bond purist, you've got to either be a Sean Connery guy or, again, I got no time. Are you going to tell me that Roger Moore was the best James Bond? Again, we're not hanging out together, right? So that she threw Roger Moore at him was just perfect, right? Because again, it was like, ooh, how gross. And even when she mentioned the Rat Pack, even though they were saying Sinatra, the Rat Pack, even though they were talking about Sinatra, the instructions she was giving were more Dean Martin, okay, which again, the second tier of the Rat Pack as far as anybody's concerned. So again, just this idea of authenticity kind of sneaks in that way as well.
And even the director of the film or the commercial was a bit fourish, had kind of dyed hair and was wearing different clothes. It was just, you could see his frustration because his vision was not understood.
Great. Okay, so scene 2. Okay, so we've covered the first 25 minutes. Just a quick point. I don't know if we said this yet, but Bob and Charlotte do not exchange words until 32 minutes into the movie. Right, which is quite interesting, right? Because the movie is about their relationship, and they don't talk for the first quarter of the film. But the second, I guess, scene we want to talk about, and again, it covers a few scenes, is the meeting with Kelly, the actress based on the Cameron Diaz character, or on Cameron Diaz. I don't know. Why don't you get one of you guys set this up for us here? What happens when they first meet in the lobby?
They are going down, Scarlett Johansson and her husband. And it's like they meet this actress, and she's like, all over the place. It's like transmitting all over the place, and
probably a transmitting 7.
Yeah,
would be my
yes,
guess.
absolutely. And it's like a conversation between both Scarlett Johansson's husband and the actress. And I feel that Scarlett Johansson is doing all the acting here with her facial expression, the way she looks. It's like judging, comparing, building a kind of opinion about this person, the relationship between them, and so on. And not saying anything, completely not saying anything. They keep on talking about very shallow things. I like the way that you're photographing. You are my best photographer. I'm here.
I have the worst BO.
Yeah.
I smell awful right
exactly.
now.
And I'm here under cover. I mean, I don't have my real name, and the name I'm using so and so. And the only comment that Scarlett Johansson says after the actress leave, that the name that she used is the name of a man, which is like a continuing of judging her and commenting and like building this.
You can see disgust in her face.
Not only the face, even her movement when he puts his arm around her shoulder and she just put it down. It's like a kind of disgust. I mean,
take your hand off me.
Yeah. If you're paying attention to her, you're disgusting as well.
Yes. Yes. And again, it's clearly this actress Kelly is a profoundly superficial person, right? I mean, just incredibly superficial. And you can, as you said, Tamer, just see the contempt all over her face, or all over Charlotte's face. And yes, so the Kelly character is using the pseudonym Evelyn Wall. No, she pronounces Evelyn Wall, which is a man whose name is Evelyn Wall was pronounced, so there was this mockery going on there. Now, they encounter each other a couple of more times because a little bit later, Kelly is giving a press conference and Charlotte is kind of walking around outside of the press conference just listening. And again, it's this mind-numbingly stupid things that she's saying. And
self-referencing, because they're asking her about Keanu Reeves, and she says, "Oh, well, we have the same dog, we live close by," and it's all about her. She cannot say anything about him.
Yes. And finally, I guess the final encounter that comes to my mind between the two of them is a little bit later when they're all in the bar in the evening. So Charlotte, John, and Kelly and a rapper of some sort are having a conversation, and Kelly will not let any of the conversation not have to do with her, right? So there's just, keeps steering it back to her. And as soon as anybody's not listening, she bursts in and talks about, oh, you have to try this cleanse, right? With that kind of stuff. So this is where Scarlett Johansson starts to turn to Bob as a diversion, right? She sends over a little cup of peanuts. Go ahead, Tamer.
Yeah, I see the character of Kelly is written in a way that describes how four are looking at other people if they are not deep enough. I think this is the way that Sofia Coppola is expressing the lens of four when they look at people that they are not deep enough.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like mundane or shallow or just not uninteresting. It's
and I want to add to it too that and I'll tell you what, we'll put a pin on this and come back to it when we talk about the subtypes, okay, and the three instinctual biases, because I think there's a very clear subtype theme here that's worth talking about, not just in the navigating, but the way transmitting and preserving are portrayed in the movie is through a very transmitting lens. But we'll come back to that.
So is Sofia Coppola a navigating four?
She certainly strikes me as one. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but she certainly strikes me as one. So the next scene, I just have to mention the part where the Kelly character says that her father was anorexic, right? She was, everybody accused her of being anorexic, but she wasn't, but her father was. And Cameron Diaz's father really was a prisoner during the Bay of Pigs invasion in the early 60s. So that's lifted directly from her. It's really a direct attack at Cameron Diaz in the movie. Okay, so next part. So Bob and Charlotte become friends, and Charlotte invites him to go out on the town with some local friends of hers. And
and before that, when they're at the bar the first time, they talk about his life crisis and getting a Porsche, and she tells him that she studied philosophy and that she just doesn't know what to do with her life. She doesn't know. She's not sure about what she's going to do next. So you can see that they're both looking for something.
Yes, he's there hiding from his wife, disappointing his kids, making $2 million when he could be doing a play. She is trying to find herself, 25, and all this sort of stuff. So, yes, absolutely. And the thing I like about this is how completely unimpressed she was that he's a movie star, right? That he's a famous guy, and she's just like, yeah, whatever. She's just kind of, making fun of him as just some other guy having a midlife crisis, which is.
And the other thing that they said was, should we leave the bar and then leave the hotel, leave the city, leave the country? And it's this sense of the four that they just don't belong to where they are.
Yes.
And they were happy to leave everything behind because it just wasn't their place.
I think also something is happening here is like the sense of connection that we are at the same level, we are at the same depth. I mean, we don't feel that we belong here, but we feel, belong to the context, but we feel that somewhere we are in sync, somewhere we are reaching certain depths. So there is kind of connection happening here.
Yeah, it's interesting as I'm just sitting here thinking how it's almost as if we don't want to leave any scenes out because every scene is just so descriptive of the four. One of the ones that just flashed to my mind was this throwaway scene of him golfing. Right. So, there's a day where they're both kind of off doing their own things and he's golfing, but it's not just him at a golf course. He's in the middle of this beautiful scene with, in front of, he's silhouetted in front of Mount Fuji. It's just staggeringly beautiful. But again, it's just an insignificant scene to the plot of the movie. And there's so many of these little things.
No relevance whatsoever.
Exactly. You could have taken all of it out and the plot would have still been the same. Right? So again, this movie really is a meditation, the beauty and, the impermanence and all of these things. Okay. So, okay, so they get together. He's wearing this really bright orange camouflage shirt, gets a little embarrassed, turns it inside out. They have a little bonding moment. They go out and meet her friend Charlie Brown, who is named.
Yeah, and they shared that they both have that CD, Soul Search.
Right. Yes, he listened to it as well. And so they go out on the town. And at first, he's clearly feeling uncomfortable, right? He's much older than all these people were. They're all, speaking Japanese, and when they speak English, it's very heavily accented. You can see him gradually becoming more and more comfortable as he gets to know people. And then there's that scene where he's sitting there talking to the guy who's speaking to him in French, right? The Japanese guy speaking to him in French. And again, it just adds this other layer of disconnection, because there wasn't any indication that he understood French, but they're talking and he seems quite happy by this point.
I think that they both felt kind of comfortable, even if they were out of place, because I guess fours navigate the world feeling a bit out of place anyway.
And it was as if they were there with this other group of misfits, right?
Yeah.
One of them was, talking, was a surfer and, a photographer and this and that. And, so it was this kind of band of outsiders almost that they felt very comfortable with. Then this kind of weird fight breaks out with Charlie Brown and the bartender, and they start shooting at them with an air rifle, and they have to run and flee and go through all these arcades. And, there's just this chaos that happens, and they end up at a karaoke bar, which I thought was an interesting scene. You guys first, before I share my thoughts. Tell me about your reaction to the karaoke.
Again, they were happy to be doing those things, although a bit uncomfortable. The songs played there had a message as well. There was one that it said, "I was afraid to be a simple guy." It's kind of the worst nightmare of a four. And then I'm special, so I'm not going to sing it, but that's what it said.
Yeah.
I think it was showing the overwhelming, disorientation of this, the karaoke culture with the state that both of them, they are feeling lost. It's like, a crescendo of bringing this really highlighted and being seen, the sense of loss.
So the music, Marie-José alluded to some of it already, but again, very four-ish movie. Charlie Brown is singing the Sex Pistols, God Save the Queen. Sex Pistols, a very angry, probably transmitting four-ish sort of band. And then Bob starts singing the Nick Cave song made famous by Elvis Costello, What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding? And again, the lyrics are indicative. As I walk through this twisted world, searching for light in the darkness of insanity, I ask myself, is all hope lost? Is there only pain and hatred and misery? Right? But each time I start to feel like this, there's one thing I want to know. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Again, it's that trip to equanimity that we see in the four, right? This suffering and pain. And when I ask myself, is that all there is to it? I go and find these other qualities, which, again, a nice message for the four. The song that she sings is The Pretenders, Brass in Pocket. And yes, Marie-José, you caught the part about I'm special, right? I'm going to make you notice. I'm going to use my arms, going to use my legs, going to use my style, going to use my sidestep, going to use my fingers, going to use my imagination. Because I'm going to make you see there's nobody else here, no one like me, and I'm special. Again, Chrissie Hynde, very much a four, lead singer of the Pretenders. And then finally, the last song that they do is Roxy Music's More Than This, which, Brian Ferry, the lead singer and the kind of the soul of Roxy Music, very much a four, very much the four sort of mindset. And it's after this song, or while he's doing this song, that they have their first kind of look at each other that really, I think, tells you the complexity of their relationship. Do you guys remember anything about the way they looked at each other during that scene?
Well, they were singing, or...
Well, he was singing More Than This.
Yeah. Intense.
It was intense. Absolutely right. It was, you could tell there was this connection. And this is, again, one of the, the things about the movie, right? What exactly is this relationship here, right? They're both married. There's never any kind of infidelity in the film, I guess, at least not technically. But, are these people friends, or, are they in love with each other? What's going on here?
After the karaoke, they find each other in a small room, which I don't know what that is, but she was there smoking, I think, and he sits by her side. They share the cigarette, and she puts her head on his shoulder,
mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Yes,
it's just, how can nothing else happen, and it doesn't. It's just like that. Yes. So it's maybe more powerful than if something else had happened, and if they had kissed or something. It's just that tension. I think it's quite vivid and strong.
Good. Tamer, anything to add on that part?
Well, I mean, the look is like multi messages. I mean, it's like maybe even contradicting messages at the same time. So the look, they looked at each other's. Yeah. And this is like expressing the complexity of the four, and the thoughts and the feelings and everything.
So they're in a taxi heading back to the hotel, and the song playing again. I was watching the movie the last time with the subtitles on, so I could see the lyrics of this song, and first she's looking at him while he's sleeping. The lyrics of the song are, close my eyes, feel me now. I don't know how you could not love me now. You will know with her feet down on the ground over there, and I want you, love, to know you can't hide from the way I feel. Right? So it's even though they're not saying anything to each other, the music is saying a lot, right? Okay. So they get back to the hotel. He carries her to bed, or carries her to her room, tucks her into the bed, and leaves.
And calls his wife.
And calls his wife. Yes. Which doesn't go well, right? So Maria Jose, tell us about the phone call home.
Well, he's there, I think, overwhelmed by everything that he's going through. Charlotte, and the city. And he's kind of excited, wanting to share that with his wife. And she says, well, I'm glad you're having fun. Clearly resentful. And he says, it's not fun. It's just different. But doesn't succeed at getting the message across.
Right.
And he hangs up and kind of regretting having done that.
Well, he said that was a bad idea.
Yes.
When he hangs up the phone. And, up until this point, the relationship between them had been, he would get these odd faxes, that were always kind of little jabs at him for, being inadequate as a father and husband. She sent him a bunch of carpet samples and asked if he liked the burgundy one, and they all looked to be burgundy to me. I don't, and so yes, so it was a very awkward call home. Next scene is the La Dolce Vita scene.
So what was the hospital scene? Before.
Yeah, you mean what was the purpose of that? Or,
no. When was it? Did we go through? Earlier in the movie or later in the movie?
Yeah, I think
later.
I think the hospital scene was later. Yes.
Okay.
Right. So it's after the scene where they are in his room watching La Dolce Vita, The Sweet Life, on television, and they have this conversation where she is, talking about not being able to find herself. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I tried to be a writer, but I hated everything I wrote. I tried to be a photographer, but it was all stupid. I'm a mean person, all that sort of things, right? So she's trying to figure herself out. He says, don't worry, you'll figure it out. And then she asks him about being married.
Yeah, before that, when she says that she's mean at everything, he says, mean is okay. But I don't think he believes it himself. But that shows that equanimity again. I think that trying to kind of make room for all of that in a really, really gentle way, but not sure that he's applying that to himself. He's almost talking to himself there.
Tamer, anything you were going to say on that?
Well, I guess this whole scene of watching the movie and then the discussion after that is like giving the message of, each one of them finding their own identity with regards to what's happening around them. Looking at their life from a different perspective, comparing notes. She is at the beginning of life and he's somehow in the middle, and it's like trying to find out whether there is something that I can learn from your experience or not, and he's expressing it. So it's the whole conversation is digging into who am I, how am I relating to other systems in my life, my identity, what do I do, and so on. And I think it's a very interesting conversation.
She asks him about marriage, too, if marriage gets easier, because she's been married for 2 years. He's been married for 25 years. And his first reaction is no, it doesn't get any easier. And then he says, yeah, it does get easier. And, and he kind of jokes that you sleep a third of your life. So that knocks, 7 years off the 25 right away. But he makes, again, an interesting comment that demonstrates equanimity. The more you know who you are and what you want, the less you let things upset you. Right? Which again is, the fundamental message for the Four. Right? Once, the more you become comfortable with who you are, the more you know who you are, and you stop searching for this manufactured uniqueness that Tamer mentioned earlier, the more peace you have inside. Just again, one quick note on that scene. When the scene ends, they kind of fall asleep together on the bed. He's laying kind of straight and she's curled up, and they form a four on the bed. If you look at it. Go ahead, Maria Jose, you're making a face there. What were you going to say?
Just seeing a pattern that might not mean anything.
Patternicity. Yeah, of course it doesn't mean anything. I'm not suggesting it was a secret message from Sofia Coppola that this is a movie about fours, but I just found it interesting, and that they are in the shape of a four there. And I think one of our students pointed that out during one of the trainings one time. Okay. So there's one more call between Bob and Lydia that I think is worth talking about here, where he's in the tub taking a hot bath, and the phone rings, and she picks it up and says that the burgundy carpet is out of stock, and so which one do you want? And he says, whatever you want, Lydia, I'm completely lost. Right. And she says, it's only carpet, Bob. Right. But he says, no, it's not that, and he's just feeling this sense of, being again, completely lost, not knowing who he is. And this is where he starts talking about how I want to start eating better. I don't want all that pasta. I want to take care of myself. I want to start eating, like the Japanese do. Right. And do you remember what she says to him when he says that?
Well, stay there.
Stay there. Right? Why don't you stay there? You could have it every day. Right. So again, trouble on the home front. Right. And, and then again, he just says, okay, that's not what I want. That's not what I mean. She gets distracted by, I think, the kids or something on the other end, and ends up hanging up. And at which point he just sinks himself under the water to show again his exasperation. Are you interested in learning more about our approach to the Enneagram? Go to awareness-to-action.com and check out our certification program. We offer a clear, concise, business-friendly, and science-minded approach while maintaining the depth of traditional approaches to the system. At Awareness to Action International, we're the leading innovators in the theory and pragmatic applications of this system to all aspects of the work environment, including leadership and personal development, team building, diversity and culture, and managing change. However, this approach is not just for the business world. A lot of people who attend our trainings do so for their own self-development or spiritual growth. Our certification program is one of only a handful of curricula accredited as a school by the International Enneagram Association. It is currently being conducted virtually and combines live sessions with asynchronous learning. Again, find out more at awareness-to-action.com. Okay, so after the bathtub scene, Bob is really depressed. After the bathtub, he goes down to the bar. And what happens when he goes to the bar?
He runs into the singer.
Yes.
And she starts flirting. I mean, there's almost nothing happens until you see them in bed the next day.
And so there's a lounge singer. They don't even give her name in the credits, but she's the lead singer of a band called Sausalito. Bob and her sleep together. He wakes up in the morning with her singing midnight at the Oasis in his room, and he's just horrified. He's got this horrified look on his face. And, of course, Charlotte comes knocking at the door. At which point, there's a bit of stress between Bob and Charlotte because she's obviously disappointed. And do you remember what she says to him when she figures out who's in the room with him? She said, well, at least she's your own age.
Yeah, she was so off.
You can talk about what it was like to grow up in the 50s, to which he responds, wasn't there anybody around to give you enough love when you were young? Right. So they're shockingly harsh with each other during this point. Right. No, actually, he says that over the lunch. I'm sorry. They have that exchange over lunch where they're barely talking to each other. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So I was mixing up there. So they kind of end up on bad terms, and then there's a fire drill in the middle of the night. They see each other and they go and connect while they're standing outside and sort of reunite. They kind of make up, okay? And go ahead, Maria.
They make up, but you don't know exactly in what terms or what is it that is going on still.
Well, you still don't know what's going on, but they're riding up after the fire drill in the elevator together, just the two of them. And when they get to his floor, there's this awkward moment where they go to say goodnight, and they have this really awkward, peck kiss goodnight, and the elevator door closes while he's still in there, and so he has to ride up with her to extend the awkwardness a few floors until she gets off, and where they share a more comfortable kiss before she gets off the elevator and he goes back to his room.
Yeah.
So that's the night before he leaves. In the morning, he is trying to
get hold of her because she has his jacket. Not because of that. I mean, that's the excuse, of course. I don't think he cares about his jacket, but he wants to see her for one last time.
Yes. And she gets a fax. Do you remember what was on the fax that she received?
Yeah, I love you, something like that.
Yes, from her husband.
A heart, and yes.
It was a love note from John, who is still off on the photo shoot. So he's in the lobby saying goodbye to people. Says goodbye to her for a few minutes. This tall blonde woman, hits on him, and he kind of ignores her in exchange for trying to find Charlotte. He gets into the limo. She goes out walking, and what happens? That's the end of the movie.
Oh, he's in the car on the way to the airport. He sees her, stops the car, gets off, and goes to find her.
Yes, very famous ending scene where he walks to her, and they kind of look at each other. She's crying. He pulls her close. He whispers something in her ear that you can't.
First he says that he's going to miss her, I think.
Yes, good.
Yeah,
good. And then he pulls her close, whispers something in her ear, and they pull apart from each other and say, okay, and then smile, and happier music starts to play, and he goes back to the limo and rides to the airport. Right. So people always want to know what he said to her in that scene. He's never revealed it, what he said to her. She has not either. Okay. So that's the end of the movie. Okay. Again, not a classic Hollywood feel good. If this was a Julia Roberts movie, they would have found a way to live happily ever after or something like that, right? But
and have a second part.
Yeah, part 2, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Lost in Translation 3. Yeah.
the background of this movie is full of people. I mean, lots of people like moving around and so on, and it's giving again the sense of loss. I mean, we're lost in middle of people, lots of people.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's a great point, Tamer. It captures this idea of feeling completely alone in a sea of people. Right? Tokyo, from what I understand, I believe, is the largest city in the world, 35 million people. Right, which is twice the size of Cairo, which is a crazy big city. More than twice the size of New York. So it's a huge city, and again, there's this feeling of isolation that is there. So one final thing I wanted to talk about was the subtypes, okay, and the instinctual biases. So I think we're probably in agreement here that both of these characters were navigating fours, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
There's all these kind of looking at the environment, at the landscape, and understanding, figuring it out, but then not joining. They only joined that group of weird people, Charlie Brown and that crowd, that they felt comfortable with, I think.
Yes, the other group of misfits, right?
Yeah.
Which is where the navigating fours often feel most comfortable, right? With people who are, a little on the fringes as well. As we said, and for those of you who have not listened to the Breakfast Club episode, navigating is what other people will call the social subtype. So there were a few transmitters in this movie. I identified, let's see,
Kelly for sure. Yeah.
Kelly for sure.
Yeah.
The Johnny Carson of
who we haven't talked about, oddly enough, the Johnny Carson of Japan. Maria Jose, do you know who Johnny Carson was? Do either of you know Johnny Carson?
But we had a TV show here that it was kind of all jokes, and there was this presenter that was just like him. Just like the Japanese guy. It was just so funny. It was painful for me to watch. It's like, how can someone embarrass himself in that way?
Yes.
And feel comfortable with it.
Yes, a quite over-the-top transmitter in that character. So, for those of you who don't know, Johnny Carson was the host of The Tonight Show for 30-plus years in the United States. I think he quit in the early to mid-1990s, but very, very famous TV personality in the United States back from the 60s until the early 90s. And this guy was I guess the closest Riose that I think of who's the guy that does Sabado Gigante?
Don Francisco.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so all right, so
Don Francisco.
Don Francisco. The transmitters in the movie do not come off that well, right? I mean, they're not portrayed in a positive light. Even the singer from Sausalito, right, is not portrayed very well. So you've got John Kelly, the singer, and the Johnny Carson of Japan, which again is not a surprise given that it was such a navigating movie.
No, that I also saw. I mean, we've discussed how kind of charged it was all the time, but it was like the transmitting repressed in the movie. It wanted to come out, but it was constantly repressed. Transmitters would let it go, but the main characters just didn't.
Yeah, so we talk about the transmitting domain as the zone of inner conflict for navigators, and that's what Riose was talking about, is this internal conflict about some of the elements of the transmitting domain. So tell me about preserving in the movie. Did you capture any preserving at all?
No, they didn't eat. Almost.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't sleep.
Right.
The rooms were a mess. Didn't care about the home, kind of.
Yeah,
not much.
Yeah, so there was this complete indifference to the preserving domain, except for the one scene where he started talking about how he wanted to take care of himself and, not eat pasta and eat Japanese food kind of stuff, right? And again, that is something that I could certainly relate to as a navigator, that every so often you start to say, you know what, I really need to make some changes, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. But
and it stops at that.
But you don't. It stops right there. Exactly right. So again, I thought the movie even captured the pattern of expression related to transmitting extremely well.
Yeah.
What else do we want to say about the movie before we wrap up here? Anything?
No, I just think that, and we've said it, but this is not about exactly what happens. It's how it feels what happens. And that it's fourish.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because the movie was all about feeling, right? It was, there's not a lot of exposition. There's not a plot to speak of. It was all just pure experience.
Yeah.
And,
there's one review here. I don't know if you've read it before, but it says, I can never remember the plot, but who cares? The emotional through line is crystal clear.
Yes, absolutely right. The reviews do capture that feeling. There's another one here that says, very much a mood piece. The film's deft balance of humor and poignancy makes both a pleasurable and melancholy experience. So again, for me, we talked about this too, and we talked about the two and Almost Famous. It gave me an appreciation for fours that sometimes I can forget to have, right? I mean, this is one of the values of doing this endeavor here, of looking at the Enneagram types through movies, is we start to see, oddly enough, the humanity embedded in each of these personality styles. And this is why we wanted to talk about these movies through film, because art captures those things that we don't always see in real life, but we know are there. For me, this really spoke, as well as any movie I can think of, to what's at the heart going on at point 4, the Enneagram.
Yeah, and I would say as well, this specific movie is giving us the opportunity to look at the world from the eyes of a 4, the director. So it's like, how does a 4 see the world? It's not only seeing the 4 from the outside, but also seeing the world from this perspective of a 4. And I think it's a very interesting thing.
Well, thanks, guys. This was fun. We'll look forward to the next movie next time. I'm not going to give away what it is. Again, we might have a special surprise in store for the next movie, so we'll hold on to that. This has been the Enneagram in a Movie podcast with Mario Sakura, Maria Jose Munita, and Tamer Zanatti. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Enneagram in a Movie podcast, part of the Awareness to Action podcast network. Find out more about the Enneagram and our offerings at awareness-to-action.com. And if you enjoyed the episode, please go online and give us a review. We'll see you next time.